Brought to you by Charity Mobile. Switch to the phone company that supports your beliefs. All plans start under $50 before taxes and surcharges. Use promo code TRADITION at CharityMobile.com for a special offer.
We've heard a lot about the Vatican needing money. There have been open talk from cardinals that with Pope Leo XIV, he may be able to reopen the wallets of Americans to give to the Vatican to help with its budget shortfalls. I no longer believe there are budget shortfalls because they have been doing things with money that you would not do if you had a serious budgetary problem. No organization worth its salt who is having a financial problem would do a lot of the things we've seen lately. And I have a story for you today that takes the cake. Because one of the things we've heard from the Holy Father in the last couple of months is repeated invocation of Pope Francis's papal encyclical Laudato Si, which had a sequel called Laudate Deum. What Laudato Si and Laudate Deum were about was a Catholic, put it in quotes or an asterisk next to that, response to questions about the environment. It was the Vatican's full-throated endorsement of the thermometer problem, as we'll call it. It was the church getting on board with a secular program on that. The secular authorities loved it so much that in the aftermath of it, they started holding UN conferences at the Vatican. And secular media were singing the praises of the church. That should be a giant warning to you when the deceptive media are out there embracing the church, and not by conversion. Because it looks like they managed to get the church to convert itself. And we've had this continued singing of praises about this weird document that came out now 10 years ago. This year's the 10th anniversary of that document. To mark the occasion, we go to, weirdly, my own local news channel that I rely on for weather. I was literally checking for a weather report just to see what to expect when I saw this unbelievable story. Go to Coco 5 News out of Oklahoma City. Never thought I'd be bringing them to you. Headline: Vatican strikes solar farm deal to become the world's first carbon neutral state. Originally published by the Associated Press, and we'll go back to them in a second. The Vatican is broke, they say. Well, they've struck some kind of financial deal with a solar farm to provide all their electricity. And solar power in these kind of deals is not cheaper than your normal grid power. It's not. It's more expensive. So don't believe them anymore when they tell you that they're broke. They're not. It's either they're not broke or they have completely and totally misplaced their priorities for fixing some very basic managerial problems that the Vatican city-state is facing. Now, one of those would be maybe, if you want to bring more money in, start teaching the actual faith. American Catholics are pretty straightforward about this. Teach the actual faith and we'll start donating again. Others say, teach the actual faith and give us back our Latin masses and we'll start donating again. Others say, add on to those two things, get rid of the worst elements in the hierarchy, Cardinal Fernandez and things, and we'll start donating again. But until those things happen, it's probably not going to happen. And the U.S. gives the most money out of anybody. That shouldn't surprise that many people. Number two is like Germany, which also should not surprise anybody. Two of the richest countries in the world provide most of the funding for the Vatican. And until they right their ship, they're not getting any more money. But their behavior is not what you would expect from an organization that keeps assuring us that they are in fact broke. Look at this AP article published by my own local news station for this. If I can get this stupid pop-up to go away. There we go. Italy agreed Thursday to a Vatican plan to turn a 430-hectare field north of Rome, once a source of controversy between the two, into a vast solar farm that the Holy See hopes will generate enough electricity to meet its needs and turn Vatican City into the world's first carbon-neutral state. The agreement stipulates that the development of Santa Maria Galleria site will preserve the agricultural use of the land and minimize the environmental impact on the territory, according to a Vatican statement. Details weren't released, but the Vatican will be exempt from paying Italian taxes to import the solar panels, but won't benefit from the financial incentives that Italians enjoy when they go solar. Italy, for its part, can use the field in its accounting for reaching European Union clean energy targets. Any excess electricity generated by the farm beyond the Vatican's needs would be given to the local community, the official said, speaking on condition of anonymity because the agreement was not public. Vatican officials have estimated it will cost under 100 million euros to develop the solar farm, and that once it is approved by the Italian parliament, the contracts to do the work could be up for bids. Vatican Foreign Minister Archbishop Paul Gallagher signed the agreement with Italy's ambassador to the Holy See, Francesco Dinotti. The Italian parliament must approve the arrangement since it has financial implications for the territory, which holds extraterritorial status in Italy. End quote. So I'm glad the Vatican, who's broke, had $100 million or 114 million US dollars or 100 million euros lying around that they could invest in a solar project instead of just continuing to get their power from the normal Italian grid. When they say they're broke, why should you believe them when they do things like this? For something as silly as neutrality on emissions. Give me a break. The church has a much bigger problem right now, and that is simply that most Catholics don't believe the basic tenets of the faith that you're required to believe to be a Catholic. Most Catholics in the West don't believe in the real presence. They believe it's a symbol. Most Catholics don't attend Mass anymore. Most Catholics worship politics instead of their Creator. Most Catholics are, at best, cultural Catholics. And generally speaking, a generation of cultural Catholicism leads to the next generation of that same family not being Catholic at all. And yet, they found 100 million euros to go dump into a solar plant somewhere. And I live in an area where you can find these things. If you live in an area where you see solar plants, let me know. You'll see that they are not exactly the best for the environment. How many dead birds have you seen near your solar plants? I see them. They're not the best. Better than windmills. That's not saying much. Misplaced priorities rule the day in Rome now. And they need to fix this. But they aren't going to, because they are committed to the secular program. It's absurd. So don't believe them when they tell you they're broke. They clearly are not. If they were, they would be doing something else. They certainly wouldn't be spending 100 million euros on a vanity project. I'm curious what you think about this, so let me know in the comments, please. But no, this is generally what you would expect to see from the Vatican, unfortunately. All right, folks, thanks very much for tuning in today. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. Sharing this on social media helps a lot too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.